Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:06. It's Monday, and we're ready to start this week strong. It's going to be a good one as we march our way toward Election Day. It's close. What are we at, like 29 days now? 30 days?
I think so.
Julie Gunlock, we're close. We're close. We had a very busy weekend in politics, in international news. Of course, the ongoing disaster relief from Hurricane Helene, now another hurricane bearing down on Florida. And, of course, today is October 7th as we reflect on the events 1 year ago today that threw so much of the Middle East into chaos, where we still have significant mourning to do over those who were slaughtered, raped, and imprisoned, still held hostage. We got it all this weekend, or excuse me, today, 6:35. Jonathan Schwanzer from the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies on the anniversary of the attack in Israel. Then at 7:05, Joe DeGenevieve will join us. 7:35, Trevor Maddich on the Commanders' domination yesterday over Cleveland. 8:05, Sean Parnell. He was at the Trump rally in Butler on Saturday. And then at 8:35, John Kahn, old buddy of mine, a singer, a writer, performer. He's got a brand new song out about Donald Trump that's actually selling like hotcakes. You want to hear about it? It was number one in the charts. Do they still say that, Julie Gunlock? Number one in the charts? I feel like Dick Clark. Good morning, Julie. You had a good weekend, I hope.
Good morning. I did.
It is October 7th, and I think that it's hard to jump into any discussion today about what's going on in our country, our community, or around the world without taking a moment to acknowledge the events 1 year ago. They often sort of, in a shorthand way, say this is Israel's September 11th. But honestly, Israel's been around since, 1947, I think, 1948. And sadly, they've had plenty of 9/11s in their lifetime, as they have literally been surrounded by existential enemies and threats since their very founding. But they've learned to fight and defend themselves and try to make peace with such a tenuous situation. But the events of October 7th shocked the system in such a horrific way, considering it was a surprise terrorist attack on a peaceful gathering of people at a music festival.
Yeah.
All civilians, no military reason, and the left still refers to this as resistance. The left still refers to this as anti-colonialism, anti-occupation. And by the left, I mean the mainstream at this point of the Democrat Party in this country, as we still have their leaders giving lip service to the supporters of the people who carried out this horrific act. And I suggest you do what I did over the last 24 hours, which at various moments in your day, go out of your way to find the images of October 7th. Go out and find some of the video of the attack. It's not easy to watch. It's not supposed to be. If it's easy to watch, there's something wrong with you. But I feel like we lose sight of what happened. We lose sight of this entire what instigated this entire reaction of Israel trying to defend herself and once and for all getting rid of this Hamas threat that's been on their border for over 20 years now, not just causing this threat to them and wreaking havoc on them and on a regular basis, murdering, torturing, imprisoning, and raping their innocent civilians, but also, it needs to be said, wreaking havoc on their own citizenship. The whatever innocent lives are still in Palestine. What I mean is those families who live in the Palestinian area of Gaza who don't support Hamas, who are also shocked to the core by what Hamas does, who just want to live their life and raise their family and worship and just have a peaceful existence. Their lives are miserable too. And I say whoever is still left there that feels that way because it's hard based on the polls to actually recognize anybody. But if there are any families in Gaza who don't support Hamas, who would like to resist them, who are also shocked to the core by what they have done and what they have stood for all of these years, well, their lives are miserable and destroyed as well because of Hamas. And so we take a moment to recognize why we're here and what's going on, and make sure you say a prayer for all of those not only who have suffered this last year, but who continue this fight. Also, one last thing, it's our fight. Every single Hamas and Hezbollah and Iranian terrorist that's killed by Israel over the course of the last year is one less Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iranian terrorist that America has to worry about, because they would do to us in a moment what they did to the Israelis on October 7th.
Yes, and I think the most disappointing thing, the thing that just really rocks me to my core over the last year has been watching Americans who somehow suggest that Israel had it coming.
Yeah.
And the fact that people publicly go to now a lot of these people wear masks and sort of cover because it's so disgusting what they're saying. And they know that there could be a social cost to this. But for instance, this weekend, Amnesty International UK, so the British branch of Amnesty International, actually put up a tweet that says it didn't start 1 year ago. And then there was a video of protesters, suggesting that Israel's system of apartheid, and sort of the chickens came home to roost. I mean, it is so despicable to see that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to me, because I was a full-grown adult working in Washington, working on Capitol Hill after 9/11, and there was just sort of everyone was in lockstep. Everyone agreed this is terrible. United States, the innocent victim here. I mean, of course, there were some outliers, right? Some radical voices. And of course, George W. Bush, the first thing he did was go to a mosque because, he sort of believed this narrative that there was going to be all this violence against Muslim Americans, which never really materialized. But it's the reversal of that. There has been this sort of rush to defend Hamas.
Right.
And Hezbollah and the Houthis and other terrorist organizations. That to me has been just it has really
worse than defend Hamas. Actually, making the case for Hamas. It's like, to bring it back to the 9/11 analogy. I mean, I don't know what Osama bin Laden's stated goal was with, I guess, to get all Americans out of the Middle East, right? To get or something. I mean, really, his stated goal was to destroy America. So what if Americans' response within a month of 9/11 was, well, you know what? He has a point. Let's just close down shop. No more America here. I mean, you have elected officials after October 7th actually making the case, and this is why we need a two-state solution. And this is why the Palestinians need their own state. It's like, wait a minute, you're literally rewarding them for what they did. You're giving them exactly what they want. Their stated goal was for this slaughter. And I'll remember it took, as is typical of the Biden administration, it took him forever to make any statement last year on October 7th. What he did say, he finally put together some words that were crafted to express outrage and solidarity. But within weeks, they were squishy and throwing Netanyahu under the bus and saying, we have to have a ceasefire. We have to say, constantly pushing for a ceasefire, where if you suggest maybe we should have a ceasefire in Ukraine, you're a traitor to all of humanity.
You're a Putin lover.
Right. And the Biden-Harris administration has constantly bent over backwards to kowtow to the radicals within their own party. And Trump has been pretty forthright in his defense and support of the state of Israel, which brings us to last night on 60 Minutes. Kamala Harris sat down for an interview and was asked specifically about her administration, their dealings with Netanyahu. And, of course, since it was 60 Minutes, their perspective was, what are we doing about the innocent Palestinians? And, well, just listen to this exchange. This is Kamala Harris auditioning to be the president of the United States and take the baton to be in charge of Middle East policy with regard to Israel and the terrorists.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill,
that pause right there should tell you everything. And you'll hear what she had to say in just a second, because to call it word salad is just unfair to the roughage lettuce and vegetables that we like so much with a little oil and vinegar. So you'll hear what Kamala Harris will say about her strong foreign policy position with regard to Israel.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill,
I just want to reiterate that pause there.
That question.
Oh, I know. But still, Kamala Harris needs to be, she wants to be commander-in-chief. She wants to be the president of the United States. And to do this job at a time of war, whether it's our direct war or one of our allies that on record, on paper, we're still supporting and on their side, last I checked, you need to have a command of the issues. You need to have a command of our position. to be able to have some sort of interchange with a journalist about this thing usually is sort of, you expect a little bit more from your leaders to jump right in and say, yeah, all right, let's talk about it. So first she's got the whole pause where she's gathering her thoughts. I guess that's why I want to focus on the pause, because she's gathering her thoughts, Julie. She wants to make sure she gets it right. So let's hear, after she's now taken her pause to gather her thoughts and communicate to CBS News and the world, literally, exactly where she stands on Israel and their posture with their terrorist enemies.
The work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
I don't know about you, but I'm completely satisfied by that answer.
Oh, my God.
So I want to read it to you. I want you to hear it again because the delivery is a big part of it.
These things down.
This is what she said. Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. Right? Is there anything clearer than that? It's complete and total.
I know I'm supposed to say something. I'm so shocked.
This may have gotten her through, some college course in humanities or something when she was asked a question
or an interview with California Press.
Sure. Let's listen to it again because I think the delivery makes it even better.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were...
Hold on. So
region.
The work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel. Does she mean military movements?
I don't
Does
know.
she mean some signals for a ceasefire? Does she mean movements in that region by Israel?
Does she mean more aggression?
I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe does she mean,
does she mean movements of troops?
looking out for civilians
movements
more
of
when they go in?
humanitarian
I
aid?
have no idea.
Because Israel has provided water and food into Gaza even while it was which movements?
We don't know. We have no idea.
Okay, moving on.
All right, so again, where we left off, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel, okay?
Very much prompted by or a result of many things.
All right. So those movements apparently were very much prompted by, which is a great turn of phrase there.
Yeah.
Very much prompted by, or a result of many things.
Okay, so hold on. The movements
in the region
was
by Israel were prompted by or a result of many things.
Can you send me that link so
Sure,
I can read
sure.
along with
Yeah,
you? Great,
I know,
great.
yeah.
Okay, go on.
Including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
Including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. So I ask you, after hearing that very important answer, what is Kamala Harris's position on Israel and the Hamas terrorists who wreaked havoc on that country and continues to do so a year ago today? Yeah, that's what I thought. Then the next question to Kamala Harris.
Do we have a real close ally in Prime Minister Netanyahu?
I think, with all due respect, the better question is, do we have an important alliance between the American people and the Israeli people? And the answer to that question is yes.
So, as is typical, they throw under the bus our leader, or our ally, Benjamin Netanyahu, who represents Israel, by the way. The people of Israel have elected him. That was some really ugly shade to throw to a man who was defending his country. And again, I remind people of this. Imagine being Benjamin Netanyahu, who was literally bled on the battlefield, lost his own brother in a war against these very same enemies. And now you've got to take military advice from Kamala Harris.
Moron. Yeah. And don't forget, when Netanyahu came to the United States in the middle of this darkest hour for Israel, she did not come to his speech at the Capitol. She just
here's what Trump
back.
had to say in September.
I'm calling on Kamala Harris to officially disavow the support of all Hamas sympathizers, anti-Semites, Israel haters on college campuses and everywhere else.
And she would never do it.
No.
She never did it at all, which tells
Nor
you
does she
exactly.
ever say a harsh word for the squad.
Nope.
The anti-Semites in Congress.
No, we know who we're voting for. If October 7th means something to you, if our support for Israel means something for you, their leadership and their people, this election could not be any more stark. It's 528.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:36 as we charge through this busy Monday morning. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of your morning routine here today. We've got more. Kamala Harris just went on the interview circuit after months and months and months of refusing to talk to anyone. You'll hear some more gobbledygook from her and apparently some dirty sex talk on a podcast.
Oh, dear.
That's quite a choice. Coming up at 6:35, Jonathan Schanzer, Foundation for Defense of Democracy, is talk about the October 7th anniversary. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:35, Trevor Maddich on your first place Commanders. 8:05, Sean Parnell, who is at the Trump rally in Butler. And then at 8:35, John Kahn about his brand new song. We should probably preview that song before John gets here. Maybe we'll play a little bit of that for you. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Julie, you know how...
morning.
Good morning. We work at a radio station here, right?
We do.
Which is a fun place to work.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a neat thing where, your product, we don't make pencils. We make, what you're listening to right now. That's what we make and we sell. And but the challenging thing about working at a radio studio, I love the fear in your eyes right now. Where are you going, Larry? And will we still have a job at the end of this?
Yeah, exactly.
We have an office. It's an office, right?
Yeah.
Your typical office everywhere. But it isn't because so you look for basic office supplies sometimes to just get yourself through the day that you
Still
need.
trying to figure out where this is going.
I need scissors, and I can't find scissors anywhere.
Oh, I saw you ripping into
Who
that.
would have said I couldn't open up this package that we had with Mike Waltz's brand new book, Hard Truths. Think and lead like a Green Beret.
Wrong Waltz. Good Waltz.
Yeah, good Waltz. Mike Waltz.
Yeah.
Not Tim Walz.
Yeah.
So I needed to rip it. I used my teeth to rip this open because I couldn't find any scissors. But more importantly, yesterday we went to the Commanders game, and we have our little WMAL hospitality suite. You've been there. You've seen a game from there.
Yeah.
And when you go in, they put a little thing around your wrist.
And you
right, like a
cannot
little
get it
cloth
off.
thing,
It's like
and it's locked in.
It's like a hospital wristband.
It's sort of like, it's not plastic though; it's cloth. It's nice, it's very fancy, and it's got the little Cleveland Browns versus the Commanders logo on it, and it allows you to get in and out of the suite without having to show your tickets all the time. And it's driving me insane. I want to rip it off, and I can't rip it off, and I'm looking for scissors, and I can't find any scissors anywhere.
You really did have a whole segment on scissors.
Well, the fact that we work in an office where you cannot find basic office supplies. Have you ever tried to find tissues in this office? But we brought these from
There's
home.
literally a tissue box right next to you.
We brought those from home. Those are not
you
issued
did?
from the studio. Yeah.
Oh, that was nice of you.
And I can't find. There's many things that we can't. The other problem is that it's 5 a.m. and there's no one here.
Right.
So it's like, who do you ask? It's like, can I? So I'm gonna. So during the next.
I cannot wait to see how you segue this into Kamala.
Well, my communicating these concerns of it's what you've just heard about me complaining about not finding scissors is more coherent than anything Kamala Harris said in all of her interviews that she handled. But during our next John Matthews News moment, I'm going to listen to him on my app. I, of course, listen. I don't go anywhere during the breaks. I listen. It's not a break. We're doing the news. But I'm also going to be rifling through the boss's drawers for scissors. So if the boss is listening and their office looks a little unkempt, it's because I needed scissors. Thank you for that moment. I just needed to share that with everybody. Do you want to listen to Kamala now?
Yes.
I set this up only because I'm worried about whenever we play a lot of Kamala Harris audio, I always worry that people are going to start bleeding through the ears.
Or turn it off.
Sure. Andrea Mitchell on MSNBC, they had a roundtable saying, why? This is when you watch the news programs over the weekends about this election, when you turn to MSNBC and kind of on CNN as well. On MSNBC, the main topic is, why isn't she 50 points ahead by now?
Right. Yes.
What's going on here? What is wrong with America? Why is this even close?
And our conversation is, how is this even close?
Right. No, we know how it's close because of MSNBC. Here's Andrea Mitchell explaining the new strategy.
Andrea. I think they've got to double down on doing more interviews and serious interviews, because what I'm hearing from Democratic and Republican business people and a lot of men. And she's got such a big problem with men. I think there's an undercount of the Trump vote. I think there is misogynation in all of this, black and white men. Big problem, but also the business world. They don't think she is serious. They don't think she's a heavyweight. And a lot of this is gender, but she's got to be more specific about her economic plan.
I know.
Gender.
Just all of the buzzwords
Like-
and language in there. But I do love, they don't think she's a heavyweight. In other words, they think she's a lightweight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what she's really trying to say there. Yeah.
But I also love the idea, but she kind of suggests it's men who think this way.
Right.
Because women think The View and Colbert and Howard Stern, that's who she has agreed to have interviews with.
That's right.
Okay. And if you think women are fooled by that, you don't have much respect for women. Women know this is lightweight media. This is friendly media. Just like Dana Bash is friendly, lightweight media.
I hear you say that, Julie, and all I can think is...
There's misogynation in...
All I hear is misogynation. That's what I'm hearing. You should really just check your misogynation.
There's misogynation in...
Was she about to say
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Okay, I won't. I trust your judgment. I thought it was okay to say.
There's misogynation in...
Did we almost have a Rich Lowry moment? What happened there? What?
Can you tell I'm the mom of teen boys? Don't do it.
So is that a word? Are you allowed to take misogyny and then sort of adapt it? It's like into any sort of usage.
MSNBC, you can do anything you want.
There's misogynation in...
All right, so it's misogyny. So Andrea Mitchell's advice
Andrea Mitchell was thinking about another M word and got a little confused.
Andrea Mitchell's advice is that she go out and do more interviews because people think she's a lightweight. I don't know why they would think she was a lightweight. We just told you what she said about Israel. So the response to prove that she's a heavyweight and that she can really do these tough interviews is apparently she went on a podcast that talks about oral sex.
Right. Yep.
It's called Call Her Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you'll get to hear a little bit of it. Thankfully, there's no tips there about any of the Latin terms that take place in the bedroom during foreplay. But you do hear her talk about, I'm not sure what she talked about actually on this. I've listened to the audio.
I bet Kamala was sitting there like, when are we getting to the fun stuff? I'm known for this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Willie Brown on the line.
Yeah.
All right, you're going to hear it in just a moment. It's Alexandra Cooper has been referred to as the Barbara Walters of her generation. She started her Call Her Daddy podcast back in 2018, excuse me. Within a month, it was picked up by Barstool Sports. That's run by, oh my gosh, I forgot his name off the top of my head.
Oh,
Sorry.
pizza guy. What's wrong with me?
Portnoy?
Portnoy. That's right.
Not Andrew.
It's
But
Dave.
Yes, Dave Portnoy.
Dave.
Thank you. Dave
Yes.
Portnoy. Barstool Sports, they picked up, as often happens here, a media company will pick up a podcast or they'll start a podcast, give them a contract, builds to a huge momentum, and then the hosts spin away and they take their podcast to a different platform, which Alexandra Cooper did to Spotify with a huge payout. Second highest paid podcaster in America, right behind Joe Rogan.
Wow.
$60 million from Spotify to do this podcast. It's often one of the top 5 rated podcasts.
$60 million?
Called Call Her Daddy. Spoken word audio is a big deal there, Julie Gunlock. You should look into it for a career. So, defying all advice by Andrea Mitchell that she should do hard-hitting heavyweight interviews, Kamala Harris instead sat down for this interview. By the way, it should be noted, she pre-recorded this interview while the devastation was going on in North Carolina. In fact, she claimed, the same day she did this interview, she claimed that she was in the Situation Room for a couple of hours with Joe Biden, monitoring everything that was going on there. That could be true. She could have done both. She's a multitasker.
Sure.
She was asked, by the way, the very first question in the podcast was, what the hell are you doing here talking to me? Well, that's not exactly how it was asked. But basically, why did you choose to do this podcast?
I'm curious, you don't do too many long-form interviews. What made you want to do Call Her Daddy today?
I could answer that by the way, because she knows she's not going to be asked any challenging questions. That's
exactly
what made
right.
her think of doing that. And I'm sorry, Alexandra, that you don't have the self-realization to come up with that on your own.
Yeah.
But I'm here because you're going to be really easy on me.
Yeah, this is the
That's why
view.
I'm
This is the
here.
view, essentially.
Well, I think you and your listeners have really got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people is to be real.
Oh.
And to
And when you think be real, you think Kamala Harris because she
yeah.
is so genuine.
Oh, yes, that cackle.
to talk about the things that people really care about. I mean, what I love about what you do is that your voice in your show is really about your listeners. And I think especially now, this is a moment in the country and in life where people really want to know they're seen and heard, and that they're part of a community, that they're not out there alone. And so I'm really glad to be with you.
Well, I mean, it worked, I guess.
That is pure Oprah talk. You know, the only thing that was missing was I'm here to speak my truth.
By the way, you talk about what people really care about, right? And
this is a moment in the country and in life where people really want to know they're seen and heard. And
yeah, so the last episode before Kamala Harris was Remy Bader. Don't call me body positive. This is a TikToker about posting authentic clothing hauls on her platform.
Oh, very important.
The episode before that, October 2nd, was about, let's just say BJ's Hall Pass.
How did Andrea Mitchell put it? Sorry.
Yes, the last episode before that, before Vice President Kamala Harris, was about BJ's Hall passes and frat daddies.
There's misogynation in.
Yeah. 2 episodes before that, the episode was about cheating 101.
How nice.
Cheating 101.
You know, if you need tips.
Yeah.
On how to cheat on your spouse, ruin your family.
The episode before that featured Heidi Klum, Laverne Cox. Isn't that a dude who pretends to be a woman?
Yes.
And it was about getting older, hotter, and wiser.
Uh-huh.
So there you go. That's where they're talking about.
This is what women care about. Yes,
that's her view of women.
That's her view of women.
So of course we immediately talk about abortion.
Of course.
And I want to pose this question more to you and the Daddy Gang, but one of the biggest conversations in this year's election revolves around a woman's body.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I want to take a moment, and can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision?
I know what you're going to ask.
Yeah, of course she knows what she's going to ask. It was written for her by the team. But I know she's so excited to get to this one.
But there is a law.
Here it comes. Well, here's the question.
About a man's body.
What's the
really?
laughter all about?
Yeah, I
know.
But
can you think of a law that where the government tells a man what he can do with his
who
body?
Who wants to tell?
Julie?
Yeah, it's called the draft.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
How many lives are lost? How many tens, hundreds of thousands of men have lost their lives because the government told them that you have no choice. You need to go and fight in this war.
Yeah, my sons they're about to turn 18, you know. I've got them sort of stair steps.
Yeah.
My oldest is about to turn 18. He's going to have to register. My friends who have daughters, they don't have to do that.
By the way,
so that is a male.
That's a major one.
That is a law specifically telling a male what they have to do with their body.
Your sons are how old?
One is about to turn 18.
But still under 18?
Mm-hmm.
He can't even get a tattoo right now.
Nope, can't smoke.
But if you had a daughter
drink.
And she got pregnant and she wanted to kill that baby,
no problem.
She could do that.
Yeah.
Because, well, there's a double standard apparently.
Yeah, I mean, Kamala will send a car.
Yeah. That was a really weird exchange.
And dumb.
These
women are dumb.
Any law that gives the government the power to make a decision.
I know what you're going to ask.
About
so
a man's body.
You
know what?
Yeah. But by the way, we got to.
This woman's name, Alexandra?
Yeah.
She should stick to BJ's.
So should Kamala. It's 5:54.